So, heading to jiu-jitsu this morning, just having your standard morning thoughts about souls and society and whatnot. And something I've been thinking about for a long time. Most of, I would say certainly here in the US, I would assume it's kind of broadly applicable to the world, but most people don't operate at a soul level. Most people operate out of a conditioned ego. And we all do need our ego to function and to move us forward in the world, but most people operate entirely out of that for the entirety of their lives. And that ego is conditioned by their upbringing, their society, their current culture, their peer group, what they do for work, the educational system they're brought up, and all of these things are these external inputs that have kind of imprinted them and formed and molded them into a particular individual. And the journey of the soul is to let go of usually most of that and to go inward to uncover who you truly are to the deepest parts of your authentic being, and then to bring that out and express that outwardly. And that's not most people. I don't think I'm being unreasonable when I say, I mean, it's probably higher than this, but I'd say, I don't think it's unreasonable to say like 80% of people are operating out of a purely ego-conditioned reality, and they have never had a serious dark night of the soul, they've never met an aspect of their soul, they have not tapped into that journey. I don't think that's unreasonable to say like 80% of the population hasn't done that. The question that I have been wrestling with for years now is, of those 80% of people who are not on that soul's journey of any capacity, what proportion of those people have souls, but those souls are just latent, that they haven't tapped into or activated? And what percentage of those people genuinely don't actually have an individual soul to tap into? And this is that whole notion of, like, you guys have heard the term NPC in a video game. An NPC is a non-player character. It's an entity of the game world that gives the player something to interact with, but it does not have any own independent will of its own. It doesn't have free will. It just operates according to its programming to populate the game world to give the player something to interact with. And if, let's just say again, conservatively, 80% of people aren't operating at a soul level of like a truly free will perspective, they are operating on their conditioned programming, what percentage of those people have souls that have just not been activated yet and they're latent? And what percentage genuinely don't have an individual soul to ever be activated in the first place? And I realize this is kind of a slippery slope perspective, because it's kind of a Luciferian perspective in a way of like, you're so special and unique if you have this, because these are people who actually are NPCs and they don't have souls. And for the record, I think they are part of kind of like a group collective soul. Even if this was the case, like someone doesn't have an individual soul, I think they're part of like a group collective soul, and their conditioning and what they operate out of and what they do out in the world will rise or fall based on the collective level of consciousness. And I mean, I think that affects people with individual and individuated souls as well. So I think that would definitely affect an NPC if that was actually a real thing. I guess the question just becomes, are they actually a real thing? Is that, like, of people who have not activated their souls, what percentage of those are latent and are just waiting to be activated at the right time? And what percentage genuinely do not actually have that and never will? And they're NPCs of this game world that we're in to give the rest of the player base something to interact with. I don't know. Curious to hear anyone's thoughts on this one. Thanks, guys.